All right, let's dive into what is, on the surface, a clinical case study. But I have to tell you, this is no ordinary analysis. This is a mythic journey of unmaking. We're going to follow a figure known only as the Stargazer on a path from a really deep-seated illusion all the way to true sovereignty. This is the story of their folly and, just maybe, their cure. Yeah, this quote, it just cuts right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? This is the core pathology of our stargazers, a life that's just one hollow performance, desperately looking for approval from an audience that isn't even there, the cold, indifferent heavens. Their entire existence is built on this huge, soul-crushing lie. So, let's start with part one, the diagnosis. Here's where we see the patient's condition laid bare. It's a life defined by what's called an architecture of stagnation. It's a state where all these endless performative rituals are just a mask, a facade hiding a rot that's growing deep inside. And this image, wow, it just perfectly captures that central flaw. I mean, think about it. A figure so obsessed with a silent, empty sky that they have no idea the very ground under their feet is turning to ash. That's the real tragedy of the stargazer. Living for a phantom gaze while your own reality just crumbles away. So, how do you even begin to treat a condition this profound? Well, you're not going to fix this with some gentle therapy. No. To break this architecture of stagnation, the source describes something way more radical, a systematic procedure designed to completely dismantle the patient's reality. This is where the wild hunt begins. But let's be clear, this isn't just chaos for the sake of chaos. The wild hunt is a precise, controlled methodology. The whole point is to take everything that feels familiar and comforting and twist it, turn it into something threatening, into a void that forces you into a confrontation with yourself that you can't escape. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. How exactly does this unmaking happen? Well, the process uses these symbolic instruments, incredibly powerful tools designed to force the patient to face reality head-on. These are what the source calls the instruments of the abyss. The first instrument we encounter, and maybe the most powerful, is the ebony clock tower. And believe me, it's so much more than a symbol of time. It represents the relentless, unstoppable march toward what the source calls the grand silence. Its tolling isn't just marking the hour, it's weaponizing mortality itself. You have to understand each one of these functions. It's like a calculated strike against the ego. The tower forces a confrontation with your own death with total judgment. It smashes every single performance, showing how meaningless it all is in the face of that void. It strips away every illusion layer by layer, getting the stargazer ready for that final, terrifying choice. All right, so after the clock tower, the focus shifts. We go from external pressure to the internal abyss, and that's where the verdant dragon appears. But get this isn't some monster you go out and slay. It's a giant mirror, and it reflects all the internal decay, all the self-deception that you've so carefully tried to hide even from yourself. And this gets at the true horror of the ordeal. To look at the dragon is to be confronted with everything. Every single unacknowledged failure, every buried truth, every lie you've ever told yourself. It's this one moment of pure, agonizing clarity where there's absolutely nowhere left to hide. This is the heart of that mythic struggle for liberation. So, after something that completely shatters you like that, what could possibly be left? Well, from the ashes of that agonizing clarity, the soul goes through its trial by fire. This is the metamorphosis, a really profound three-part psychological transformation that forges a broken subject into something completely new. This sequence really maps out the path to that internal freedom. First, the spirit becomes a camel, right? It learns to bear the crushing weight of reality with no filters. Then, it transforms into a lion, with the strength to finally say no and shatter those hollow old values. And finally, it becomes the child, who says a creative yes to the void and forges brand new meaning from the ruins. So after all that, where does this epic journey finally end? Not back in the clouds, not gazing up at the stars. It ends right here, in the grit and the grime of the earth, with the birth of a powerful new kind of consciousness. And this is it. This is the ultimate transformation, laid out plain and simple. The subject is no longer the stargazer, a beggar pleading with an empty sky. They have become the sovereign. Forged in the iron of their struggle, they are now the master of their own domain, the lightning that rips through the very heavens they used to worship. And that's really the whole point, isn't it? True freedom, Real sovereignty is never found by trying to please some distant outside power. It is forged by mastering yourself, right here, on the ground. The performance is over. The masks are shattered. All that's left is the powerful, undeniable reality of the now. So I'll leave you with this, the final kind of haunting paradox of this whole process. The immense pressure of the wild hunt, it all boils down to a choice. Do you embrace the peace of total dissolution, what the source calls the logic of zero? Or do you endure all that friction to forge a new self, to claim the grit and power of sovereignty? That choice, it seems, is what defines our very existence. So I'll ask you, what is the final prognosis?